Good afternoon. Welcome to Expose Yourself to Art, a show that looks at the creative process by inviting artists to come on our show with us and talk about their life and their work. My name is David Schrader, and with me as my co-host, as always, is Linda Scheller. Come on in, Linda.
Thanks,
Hi.
David.
Good to see you again, as always, on our Sundays.
Great to see you.
Yeah, I've been thinking, we've been doing this for, 4 months now, I think it is. And we've had artists from all different walks of life come in, performers, painters. What's it been like for you to see all these people, creative people, let's put it that way?
It's been absolutely delightful. I've met so many amazing, wonderful, fascinating people. So I'm just so grateful to have had the opportunity to get to converse with them and hear about their art. Oh, I love it. Sunday afternoons, one of the favorite things going right now.
Ah, that's so good to hear. Yeah, one of the things that always impresses me is that regardless of the art form, this river of creativity that seems to flow through everybody has a lot of similarities, regardless of whether they're painting or performing or writing. That creativity is a very, very powerful force that flows through all these different outlets. So anyway, to get on to today, we have another very interesting, talented, charming person. His name is Gregory Savage. And I looked up his bio that I had from several years ago. Interesting thing, he's a man of few words in his bio. Basically, his bio said, I have a camera, I take pictures, and I like jazz. So we have a lot to delve into with him. He's not only a photographer, he's also one of the creators and participants in a new innovative theater group in town, the Sankofa Theater that operates out of the Gallo Center. So anyway, we have a lot to talk about, and welcome, Gregory.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Good to see you also.
So just off the top, before I turn you over to Linda here to delve into your personality, you heard the introduction I gave. That's all I could find. It said, I have a camera, I take pictures, and I like jazz. Is there anything else you would like to add to that?
Well, I've worn a lot of hats. I still wear a lot of hats. I'm first and foremost, I guess, I'm a gospel preacher. I have a background in law enforcement and did honorably discharged from the Navy. What else do I do? I belong to a mentoring group to where we mentor young African American boys, high school, junior high. I'm sure it's something else that I can't think of right now.
That's great. I mean,
well, my wife always tells me I got too many irons in the fire, so I'm sure probably that I forgot about.
Well, you see, I know some of those things about you, but when I looked at your bio, the only one I could find of you, it wasn't there. So I thought I'd ask you. So, yeah, the way we work here is usually start out by asking you about your background, and Linda kind of delves into that with you. So I'm going to turn you over to Linda. And,
okay, Linda.
So, Greg, perhaps you could tell us about your artistic background and development. What got you started? Where'd you go from there?
Well, I've always been a lover of jazz. Jazz is something that's always been dear to my heart. Jazz is a African American genre. It was started by African Americans. Now there's some debate as to who the father of jazz is. Some say Buddy Bolden, some say Louis Armstrong. I'm kind of the Buddy Bolden group because he was older than Louis Armstrong. I think Buddy was born in 1877, and Louis Armstrong was born in 1901. So I'm just giving the benefit of the doubt to Buddy Bolden. But the one thing that kind of drew me to jazz, which a lot of people don't understand nowadays, they hear it, either they like it or they don't like it, but it's a language, and everybody doesn't understand the language. In fact, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King said one time that jazz is the perfect music for the civil rights movement, because jazz was what artists used to express themselves, whether it be songs of protest, songs of freedom. So it's a language. You know, right now they're talking about the movie The United States versus Billie Holiday, and Billie Holiday's famous song, Strange Fruit. And but they was talking about the lynchings that were going on at the time. But that was how they expressed what they felt in their heart at the time through the music. I mean, there were people like Nina Simone, Abby Lincoln, Freedom Day. There was Charles Mingus, Freedom, Prayer, Protest, Peace by Abby Lincoln. So there were songs of freedom, songs of protest, and a lot of the people that I photograph at the jazz festivals and jazz venues are young people who understand those things, and they're kind of like remaking that same music, putting a different twist to it, arranging it different, but the message is the same. So if you don't understand the message, then you're probably not going to like the music.
I see.
Could I anyway? Could I like the music anyway?
Well, I mean, you know, what I'm talking about, what I prefer is what is called straight ahead jazz.
Okay.
The old stuff, you know, like Miles Davis, Theodis Monk, you know, those kind of people. You know, they got some new stuff that you know, my wife kind of likes, but you know, I listen to it from time to time, but it's not my favorite. I like the music that had the message.
Okay.
I see. How did you get into photography, Greg?
Well, probably the last 6 months, after I had seen everything, I decided to take up photography about the last 6 months that I was in the Navy. So a lot of things that I saw in the Navy, I just got memories of because I have no photographs. But that's when I started. Then, of course, when I got out of the Navy, got married. I think I got married maybe a week after I got discharged. In fact, my wife and I will be celebrating our 40th anniversary in a couple of months. But anyway, of course, taking family pictures of the babies as they were born. And, you know, it's kind of like people used to run when they see me coming with my camera. But now I've gotten a little bit better. So now everybody wants to be in front of my camera.
Yeah.
But that's how that worked.
Yeah. So those two things came together, obviously, right? Taking photographs and your love of jazz. And when we talked the other day, there was you had kind of a story. Maybe you could share that with us, you know, about your, seeking to get, behind the stage or up close to take pictures?
Yeah. Well, you know, I had been taking photographs for a while, and coupled that with my love of jazz. And so my wife is from Rochester. I'm from Buffalo, New York, which is about 60 miles apart. So we went back to visit family, and I found out that the International Jazz Festival was going on in Rochester. So I decided that I would put together a little portfolio and approach the people in charge at the Rochester Jazz Festival to see if I can get media credentials. I think this was about maybe 6 years ago. And they liked my work, and they gave me a media pass, which allowed me to get basically anywhere I wanted to get at the festival. And that was a great experience. There were other photographers there, one especially that kind of took me by the coat and kind of led me around and showed me, where to go and what to do. And I'm very appreciative of that. So when I got back to California, the San Jose Jazz Festival was going on. So I said, well, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. So I approached them at San Jose and got the media credentials. And so I said, well, I'm on a roll here. So let me go after the big boys, which was Monterey Jazz Festival. And that worked, and I got my media credentials, and I've been doing it for the last 6 years.
Wow, yeah. So anyway, we have a collection. This collection is focused because of a recent exhibit on women of jazz. And so let's take a look at some of them. Maybe if there's a story connected with any of them, we'd like to hear it, or just identifying them. So there we go.
This is Renee Marie.
Yeah.
Now she's one of the ones that I like because she uses a lot, even though she writes and produces, not produces, but she writes her own stuff. She sings a lot of those songs from the past with that protest message and the freedom message. So I actually saw her at the University of the Pacific. They had her come in and perform, and I got a chance to shoot her there.
Okay.
But all of these women are, they're either Grammy winners or Grammy nominated.
Uh-huh.
And now this lady here, Renee Carter, she's won a Grammy, I think at least in the last 3, maybe 4 years for jazz violinist. Now, and she is fantastic. If you hear music, you understand a violin, but she plays it in a whole different way, and she's got a gift.
Uh-huh. So the stories are nice. The photographs are great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for sharing them, man. These are good photos. Yeah, I enjoyed them.
This is, before I get into her, there's one behind me on the wall. That's not Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, but there's a smaller one there, and that's Esperanza Spalding. Now she's a name that people might be familiar with now, but in the beginning, they were having the Grammys, and they had the title of what is it? New Artist of the Year. And at that time, this is how far back it goes, everybody thought it was going to be Justin Bieber. And they announced Esperanza Spalding, and nobody knew who she was.
Oh, wow.
Because it was the first time a jazz artist had ever won that award. Wow. And so now more and more people know who Esperanza is, and she's a gifted bass player.
Okay, I was going to ask what she played.
Yeah, she's a bass player.
Okay.
This is Carmen Lundy. Now, Carmen Lundy is still along those same lines, those songs that really have a message. And she's been compared to Sarah Vaughan and Aretha Franklin and Aretha Franklin. Sarah Vaughan. Yeah. Everybody knows who she is. I hope everybody knows who she is, but sure. that style is what Carmen Lundy has.
Okay. Next here.
This is Terry Lynn Carrington, jazz drummer extraordinaire. She's a Grammy winner also. She's played with some of the greats, Clark Terry, but she's fantastic. She's a band leader. There are women in jazz that lead their own bands, and they're fantastic. So I mean, it's not like is in jazz. It's kind of like everybody tries to help anybody. There's really no competition. Everybody works together to promote the genre. So there's no big I's and little U's. Everybody works together and they communicate. So that language that I was talking about, you can only see that if you see jazz live. When you see the piano player nod his head to the drummer, which means giving the drummer some, and the drummer does his solo. And then one of my friends, I call him a friend, he just knows me by passing, but Lewis Nash, he is his title is drummer of first call, which means if you have any project going on around the world and you're looking for a drummer, you're going to call Lewis Nash first to see if he's available. That's how good he is. But he told a story one time when I went to see him. He, in his 20s, he had a chance to play for Sarah Vaughan, and no, it wasn't Sarah Vaughan, it was Betty Carter. He had a chance to play for Betty Carter, and he played for her one night, and she went up to him and said, "Oh yeah, I like that. It was very good." So the next night he played for her, and she came over and said, "I heard that last night. What else you got?" So that's where the improvisation comes in.
Right.
When you hear a song, it's never the same when you're listening to live jazz, because everybody's kind of doing their own thing. They think about ways they can change it up and make the message different. So that's why I love, because it's a freedom in jazz. They talk about John Coltrane. The guys that played with John Coltrane used to say, you love playing with him, but you never knew when the song was going to end. Because he'll give the drummer some, and he'll do his thing on the piano, then he'll give the bass player some, and might go back to the drummer. And you got to be fresh, you got to be on it, you got to know what's up. And when he nods his head toward you, you got to be ready with something, and it can't be the same thing.
No. Before you get into this, you haven't mentioned it. I don't know if it makes any difference, but where were some of these pictures taken?
Well, you can see Monterey, a little bit of Monterey in the back of this one, but Monterey Jazz Festival, San Jose Jazz Festival, Rochester, New York Jazz Festival.
Okay.
Some of the places, some of the clubs in the Bay Area. Piedmont Piano Company has a nice jazz venue, and a few jazz venues in Oakland and San Francisco. But most of them are at the festivals. Mm-hmm. This is Aya Takazawa. She's a young up and start from Japan, and she's a millennial. I don't know what age that is. I think I got a couple of sons that are millennials. I think it's like in your 30s or something, right? Somewhere around there.
I'm up there with you. I
know we're baby boomers. I know that. That's the only age group I know. I don't know about all these other ones, but she's an up and coming star. So anytime you get a chance to play at these festivals, either you've already made it or you're soon to make it. That's so all the jazz festivals, you see the latest and the greatest. And some of them that might be local at the time, they become world known because of the jazz festivals. Because the jazz festivals are full of jazz lovers. Another thing about jazz festivals, there's never any problems at jazz festivals. Nobody's fighting. nobody's stumbling around drunk, because you can't be drunk and listen and appreciate jazz.
That's
Some
true.
of that stuff that people just be dancing, but jazz is different. To understand jazz and to listen to jazz and to understand a jazz club. A jazz club is not a place to go in and hold a conversation. When they're playing on that bandstand, there is silence, except when somebody does their solo. You clap, might make a few sounds, but it's just a way of how people conduct themselves. They know when to clap and they know when not to clap. They know when to talk, they know when not to talk. And it's just a tradition that you learn. If you love the jazz, if you love the jazz, you're there to hear the jazz. You're not there to hear somebody else trying to talk over the music.
Yeah, right.
And people understand that. Here's another millennial. Now I can't even remember her name, but she was at Monterey Jazz Festival. I saw her again in Rochester. Okado is her last name.
Okado?
I'm trying to think, because I had a little list here and I didn't write her name down for some reason.
Well,
But she's good. They're all good.
they're all good.
They're
Yeah.
vocalists, and a lot of these women that play instruments, they're also great vocalists too, which I didn't know till later, because they got their start, so to speak, because they were great instrumentalists. But later, after they got well known and become like band leaders, they decided to display their other talents, which was vocal.
Uh-huh. Okay.
This is Brianna Strongberg. She's from Canada. She's a millennial, and she just put together her first band. In fact, she's playing in New York for the first time with her own band. She's the band leader. She's got a great voice, but she's known as a trumpet player, and she talks about how her role models, so to speak, or people that she listened to as a young girl, were Louis Armstrong and Jelly Roll Morton. Those were people that she listened to, and those were, some of the original jazz artists.
Now, these last two were millennials, you said, and you also made reference, that they maybe play a different kind of jazz than the old
Yeah,
stuff.
straight ahead. It's more of a when I say a language, it's those songs of protest, the songs of peace, songs of freedom. It's because this is back before the civil rights marches that a lot of these guys played. So
Right.
that was their way of expressing to the world, what kind of shape the world was in at that time.
Right. But the millennials don't have that.
Oh yeah, they have it.
They do?
Some of
Okay.
them have it.
Some of them have. Okay.
So what you have, David, is that some of them can make more money playing what they call smooth jazz.
Okay.
Okay, because smooth jazz is kind of easy. Listen, get you a glass of wine, sit there and sip on it, and just mellow out, so to speak. But straight ahead jazz is like, some of the stuff that Miles played, it was like violent almost.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand where he's coming from, then you say, man, I can't get into this.
Okay.
There's one song that Abby Lincoln sings, and it seems like she's doing a lot of screaming and hollering, but it's called, the name of it's called Prayer, Protest, and Peace. So through her voice, and that's when you get into the scat. Scat is like I can't scat, but a blues.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah, I do. Yeah,
But
yeah,
but it's more like an expression, but the expression is based on what she's singing about at the time, whether it's the
okay,
protests, whether
yeah,
it's the the peace,
yeah,
or the prayer.
yeah, yeah. I was asking because, like I say, I'm with this older generation, like you, maybe even a little bit older. But all the names you've been mentioning, those are the ones I remember, and
Okay.
that's why I was asking about whether the new jazz is, how it's different than that. Because no, I recognize all the names. I've heard probably most of their music from way back when.
Oh yeah,
And
there's some great guys out there, and they're not all black. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it was originated and invented, so to speak, or developed by blacks, but
right,
everybody plays it. Is known all over the world. It's played all over the world.
right.
So I mean, the great one that we had right here in the valley was gosh, at UOP,
Dave
you know,
Brubeck.
Dave Brubeck.
Yeah,
I mean, his story is tremendous. Where he
yeah.
would, when he was in the army, he refused to play at certain places because he had a black man in his band who they didn't want to play with him.
Ah,
So he would refuse to play. So his story is great.
yeah. Okay, so who do we have here?
That's Carmen Lundy again. She
Okay.
just, I got a lot of pictures of her because she just gave me great expression. So
Yeah.
when I'm looking to take a picture of a jazz artist, you got to be giving me something. This is your work. I want you to look like you're working. I mean, I just can't take a picture of a singer that just standing there stiff. I mean, give me something, and that's what I try to capture. When somebody's giving me something, that's when I want to snap the shutter.
Yeah. Okay. So I looks like we're going to, yeah, okay. We're going to switch gears here a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
Before we switch, I just need to say I've really appreciated all of your jazz pictures. I've seen them in a couple different venues, and hearing the story behind them is wonderful. And I really thank you for that. It
Well,
gives a
thank
whole
you for having me.
different meaning to what I've been listening to all these years.
Oh
So
yeah, I mean, just David. There's some great when we get back to some kind of semblance of normal. There's
yeah.
some great jazz venues. I mean, there's a place that I love, uh, called Take Five in Stockton, and that's
Oh,
kind of connected with the Brubeck Institute, and
uh-huh.
so they bring a lot of world class jazz artists through there,
Oh,
where I got a lot of pictures from too. But it's right down the road. Some
right down
some
the road.
really great jazz, and great jazz that's played by young people too, which kind of ensures that jazz is not dead. Jazz is still alive.
All right. Great. Great art form. Absolutely great art form. So now you are one of these well, as you said, you have wear a lot of different hats,
You know,
multi-talented person. And recently, what we have here on the screen is the something from the Sankofa Theater Company. So now let's switch gears and tell us about this, where it came from, what your
okay,
role was. Yeah.
this is our logo. Now, one of our co-founders, um, Cheryl Knox, her brother did this for her. And Sankofa basically is an African word, and it talks about this bird. You can see the bird here. It's a bird that similar to a swan with a long neck, and so the bird is always reaching backwards. And so what Sankofa is all about, we reach back to our past for the things that are good we bring them forward so that we can use them in the present and on into the future. So that's what Sankofa, some of our traditions, African traditions, and some of the things that are good and wholesome and educational, things that we've learned from our ancestors. We've reached back and get those things and bring them to the present so people can admire them and understand them.
Mm-hmm. So this is a new theater company,
Well, we're
operating
not
out
new
of
anymore. This is our 9th year.
9th year. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us how it started.
Well, it started. We had Jim Johnson, who's the artistic director at the Gallo Center, was putting together a production of To Kill a Mockingbird,
Mm-hmm.
the famous play To Kill a
Right.
Mockingbird. And so I was at a meeting at the Gallo Center because Lynn Dickerson had brought a group of African Americans together to find out what she could bring to Gallo that would encourage African Americans to come and support. So in this meeting, somebody asked Jim, was he still going to do To Kill a Mockingbird? He said, yeah, but I'm looking for one character, and I'm looking at this guy right across from me, and he's pointing to me. And he told me that he was looking for a person to play the role of an African American preacher. And I said, okay.
Yeah, typecasting.
Yeah. So I said, well, I don't even think he knew I was a preacher at that time. But I guess I looked like a preacher. But anyway, he said, well, just come down and audition for me. He asked me had I ever acted. I said, no, not really. My mother said I've been acting a fool all my life, but other than that. But I went down to where he wanted me to come, and nobody was there but me. So I think when he saw me and heard me talk, that he had already made up my mind that I was going to be the guy. So when I got into it, and one of our other co-founders, John Irving, he played the lead role in To Kill a Mockingbird, and also the choir, the Mockingbird Choir. Our 2 other co-founders were in that, Elizabeth Garman and Cheryl Knox. But anyway, what I found out is that memorizing lines was fairly easy for me. So after we did that, it was John and Liz and Cheryl. They approached me wanting me to be a part of this new idea that they had about starting our own African American theater company. And I was surprised. I said, what do you want me for? I don't know nothing about theater. That was my first acting job. I said, you probably need somebody else. And they said, no, we want you. We want you. So that's how we started. And so what we did is when we got this idea, we went to Lynn Dickerson at the Gallo Center because basically we wanted information as to what to do, what not to do, what we can bring in or what we needed to stay away from. And we were thinking about, starting as most production companies in a small black box theater. But Lynn heard what we were trying to do, and she said, well, we'd like to partner with you. So our first production, which was Piano Lesson, instead of doing it in a small community theater, we ended up doing it in the 444 seat theater at Gallo. And it was successful. So for these 9 years, until the last couple of years, we've been doing it every year at the Gallo Center, and we've got a fan base now that stretches from probably San Francisco all the way down to maybe Fresno.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's how we started.
That's how you started, yeah.
Yeah.
So this picture, I see Jim Johnson.
That's Jim Johnson. Yeah, that's that's our first rehearsal, not first rehearsal, but that's a rehearsal during our first production of Piano Lesson. You can see this. I think you can see the staircase back there.
Yeah, yeah.
But it takes dedication because you rehearse for like, I don't know, sometimes 7, 8 weeks.
Yeah.
For a show that lasts a weekend. Sometimes
that's right.
longer,
That's right.
sometimes longer. But it's you got to be dedicated to do it. And we've been finding and developing dedicated people.
That was a great show.
Huh?
A great show.
Oh, thank you. This is this is Sam Merlot. This is I can't even think. This is back behind is Dwight Mahavier. I think Linda, you know him. And then that's John Irving. And I'm bad with names.
So what show is this from? Is this from the
This
same
is
show?
Piano Lesson.
Piano Man. Okay.
Sam here is explaining to them. He's the preacher, and he's explaining to them. I don't even remember what he was explaining because I wasn't in this scene. But 9 years ago was a long way for me to look back and understand all of this stuff. But it was a great show. I had a lot of fun. I played what did I play? I played the womanizing drunk uncle.
Oh, perfect for you, right?
Yeah, it was fun. This guy here, I can't even think of his name, but he's a great actor. Yeah. He is a great actor. But anyway, it was a scene in there where I had this old suit that I was trying to take to the pawn shop, and the guy at the pawn shop didn't want it because he said it was too old. And I ended up selling it to this young man. I just gave him a story and beat him out of his money. And he bought the suit. And he bought my shoes too. And the shoes were too small for him. But I convinced him that, the leather would stretch out and they'd be all right pretty soon. Just walk a couple of miles in them. But it was a fun production.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is Fences. This is the end of the show because I played the lead in this because the person that was supposed to play the lead, John Irving, I think maybe a month before we were to open, he fell down some stairs and broke his ankle. So I had to move up my role to the lead role. But this is one where at the end I died. So I'm not, of course, I'm not in this scene. But this is a story about, I know they made it into a movie. It was a Broadway play for a while, but this is the one where Troy Maxim is the role that I played was of course African American and great baseball player, but because of the color line was never able to make it into the big league. So he kind of lived a bitter life because of that, because he said that there were guys playing for the Yankees, white guys playing for the Yankees that were like 243 and he was hitting 350, but he couldn't get in. But anyway, that's what we do in Sankofa. We try to share the history of African American culture, African American life in this country. So we do a lot of August Wilson plays. August Wilson is a great American playwright who did what is called the Pittsburgh Cycle, a series of 10 plays around Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Well, one play was in Chicago, but it's all about the African American experience in this country.
Yeah. That's a very powerful show. I thoroughly enjoyed it, especially the movie. Hey, as I said the other day, you and Denzel playing the same.
Well, like like I said the other day, is that Denzel, I think, realized that he could never follow James Earl Jones. So when he did the Broadway play, which I didn't care too much for because he made it more comical, and there were parts of that play that nobody should have been laughing.
Yeah,
But because he was following James Earl Jones, I guess he felt that that was the only way that he could do it. But I think he would have been great if he just had it did it the way it was intended to be done. But he did a great job in the movie.
Yeah, that's what I saw. So we interrupted the flow here. So what have we got here?
This is the Mockingbird Choir. This is with the umbrella. That's Elizabeth Garman, and three over from the left, that's Cheryl Knox. Both of those are co-founders of Sankofa. And a few of these have been in our productions that we've had. So we got them into Mockingbird, and they got bit by the acting bug, and a lot of them continue on, and some of them don't. In the last picture, the little girl that was in Fences, she decided that she does never want to act again. So sometimes it works, and sometimes you get bit, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, got it. So what do we got next here?
Oh, this is Tawawa House. This was a world premiere in Modesto of Tawawa House. Tawawa House became Wilberforce University, as now I think it's called Central University in Ohio. But this was kind of like it started out as a stop on the Underground Railroad. And then it turned into kind of like a resort for rich white folks to come and sometimes come with their mistresses or whatever they wanted to do. It was like a party place. And these were the slaves that were at the Tawawa House. Right. But they brought in. We did this with what was the opera that was here? Opera company. Townsend Opera.
Townsend Opera Company.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to ask. Were you in this production, or I know they brought a lot of people in from the outside.
Yeah, well, we didn't. Well, we had a choir, but they brought in professional opera singers that from New York. I mean, these are world-known opera singers. They were great. But we had a chance to do it, and we said okay, because they were looking for African American actors, of course, and so they had heard about Sankofa, so that's how we tapped into that. But it was a great production, world premiere. The daughter of Zenobia Powell, who was the writer of the opera, who since passed away, her daughter came for the opening from Virginia. So it was a great production, and we did a little insert from it up in San Francisco.
So you haven't mentioned it, and I didn't see any pictures, but Townsend Opera also has done a couple of productions of Porgy and Bess. And was Sankofa involved with any of those?
No. Well, I don't know if it was Townsend Opera. I know Liz Garman, I think she played Porgy and Bess, but I'm not sure if it was Townsend Opera.
Okay,
now,
so.
This was a workshop that we did in Tracy, California. And so, am I too early to talk about the money that we got from you guys?
No. You can talk whenever.
But this is one of the things that I applied for the grant and received it, and eternally grateful for the money. But the focus of the workshop of course, is to try to get young people involved in theater. But even more so than that is to uh, give them a confidence to speak up, to feel comfortable in talking in front of people. Because I say that if you have something to say, it's important, even if it's only important to you.
Mhm.
And if it's important to you, then you need to be able to articulate it so people understand what you're saying. So that's what we do in the workshops, is that Phil, get these young people to, number one, project their voice, make it clear so people can understand, and lose the fear. They say that public speaking is the second worst fear that people have other than dying. So I mean, if you can talk, you can get a lot of things done.
Yeah.
My wife was telling me uh, before I came on. She said, "Well, how long do you have?" Well, they tell me I have an hour. And she said, "Well, I know you won't have a problem with that." And I said, "Well, I'm just trying to figure out if I can get everything in I got to say in an hour." But I do have a gift to talk, even though my bio is short. When people listen to me for a while, they realize that I can go.
Yeah, no, your bio made me laugh because I know you can talk. So it was just short. So yeah, there was a grant, regranting that our local agency did with some money from the California Arts Council, and you did apply and you got some money for this. Is this what you're using it for, to do the youth-oriented kind of
Yeah,
programs? Yeah.
yes, yes. I mean, we found some great talent in the youth. I mean, you just think about it. There's songs that you probably and I probably and Linda's probably learned as kids that we still know the words to. So the
Uh-huh.
memory is just, but they use it for other things. They use it for, I'm not gonna beat on hip hop people, but
No,
that's a
no,
different
no,
age group from
different.
me.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that I thought would fade away in
Mhm.
4 or 5 years, but it's still here going strong. So I gotta give it its credit, but
Right.
it's not my pick as a genre. I listen to
You're not gonna say it's the new jazz.
no, 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 no. Well, the thing about it though, some of it I'm getting to like once they get rid of all of that vulgarity, but I understand the original rappers, so to speak. They were kind of doing it out of protest and conditions of the world.
Yeah.
Now, my favorite, I don't know if you ever heard of him, was Gil Scott Heron.
Oh yeah.
Now, Gil Scott Heron, he was a poet that put his poetry to music, and he talked about things like the revolution that will not be televised. I mean,
Yeah.
he talked about. I mean, he was great. See, he was one that I saw in my younger days before uh, I got into photography. And I mean, I've seen some great guys, and I said, man, I wish I had my camera back then.
Yeah.
But
So obviously, Sankofa has been sidelined by the pandemic, as has all other performing arts groups. Has Sankofa done anything during this time, let's say online, or to deal with the pandemic? And I mean, that's the first part of the question. The second part is, what are the plans for going live again?
well, the first part of your question, we've done some things with Jim Johnson at Gallo. We had some virtual. We do, and I wasn't there because I was going back to New York. I can't. You know,
I actually saw one of them, and I can't remember the name.
oh, you in a bad situation just like me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But anyway, you know what we've done. We've done some video stuff, some of the small, and they've done more than just with Sankofa. I've seen a couple of them. I can't think of one of them. I should have called Jim before I got on this program. But anyway, there's some virtual stuff that Gallo is doing, and Sankofa has been part of some of that. And they're just like 20, 25 minutes long. They're not long because you don't want to keep people in front of a video screen for an hour, hour and a half like you would do a normal
Yeah.
production on stage. But because you put people to sleep. But anyway.
Right. So the second part of the question is, do you have a schedule? Does Sankofa have something in mind for if and when they actually become performing in person again?
Well, our next one that was scheduled for this month, which didn't happen, is scheduled for next February, which is I think we decided that we're going to do Gem of the Ocean, which is another August Wilson production.
Okay.
And we might do some things in there if we get to some kind of semblance of normal. We might, but we're definitely going to do the workshops. And I don't know. Wes Page. You know Wes Page?
Yes, very much.
Yeah, Wes Page is great with that video stuff. I mean, he does a lot of just volunteer, a lot of stuff for us. Maybe we can talk to Wes. I'm putting him on blast right now. Maybe we can talk to Wes and get him to do something for Sankofa if we come up with some kind of production that we can do online.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think Gallo is keeping him pretty busy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Linda, do you have some final questions for Gregory?
Well, sure. So when things do open back up, is there a jazz festival that you haven't yet gone to where you would like to take your camera?
Oh yeah, Newport Jazz Festival.
Uh,
There's a lot of them that because they're trying to get music that will attract everybody. There's some of them that kind of mix it up a little bit and have a little rhythm and blues, and I kind of stay away from those. Like Monterey is just straight ahead jazz. I mean, you're not gonna hear no rhythm and blues. You're not gonna hear no country. You're not gonna hear you're gonna hear jazz, and that's why it's the oldest up and running jazz festival, I believe, in the world. I know in the United States. But Newport on the East Coast, Rhode Island, out on the beach with the ocean. I would love to get over there and shoot that one.
Sounds good.
Yeah, wonderful.
But there's a lot of stuff going on locally. There's one down in San Diego. They kind of mix that one up with other music too. But Monterey, San Jose mixes a little bit, but they still got a lot of straight ahead jazz. And I like San Jose because it's so close. But Rochester is great, and Newport is one in Washington D.C. I like to see, and then even in Canada, the Montreal Jazz Festival, Toronto Jazz Festival. So there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, it seems like you have the makings for a small book, perhaps at some time. Yeah, well, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm thinking about putting a photo book together. I guess if I put a photo book together, I gotta have.
Yeah, that's what I mean, a photo book.
Yeah, I gotta have some words in there too, right?
Yeah.
But
no, you have great stories for a lot of these. You really do, and I think it's a message that a lot of people don't know or haven't heard. I mean, just your way of explaining jazz on this short little encounter we have here is, I think it's very enlightening.
Yeah.
The language part, the protest part, Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I've heard a lot of the people you talked about from the past to the straight jazz, I didn't realize some of that was going on at the time. I mean,
Oh
for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
that was eye-opening.
That's how the message. I don't know if you've seen the movie yet, but United States versus Billie Holiday. That's what it was all about. The government trying to get her to stop singing that song, "Strange Fruit."
Mm.
Wow. So anyway, hey, we got through shorter than an hour. You can chalk that one up and tell your wife about it.
Yeah.
So, I really appreciate you coming on here with us.
Well, I appreciate it too, David, because as an artist, photographer, and I know you do great photography work as well. But
Mhm.
it's always good to have your stuff appreciated.
Yes.
So because you need confidence. Is my stuff good? Is it not good? Then when other people look at it and say, "Hey, I think you got something going on," because you can go to family are always going to say that you're good. Sometimes they say that you're better than you really are. But when other people see it and say that you're good, then you say, "Oh, well, maybe I am good. Maybe I got a little bit going on," and then you have that confidence to just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, well, based on your jazz photos, you are good.
Yes.
You are good enough to have people look at them. So
Thank you.
thanks again, and thanks to our audience for listening. So
Thank you, Greg. It was great talking with you.
You
Okay.
too, Linda. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. So.